bring everyone up to speed. Would you please introduce yourselves and then you can...
Absolutely. I am Bob Dowd, Director of the Department of Emergency Services for Lebanon County.
I'm John Hess. I'm the Chief of the Lebanon County Detectives.
Jeff Marley, Lebanon County Sheriff.
So the reason I have adequate protection this morning is we're seeking permission to apply for a grant for a countywide records management system for law enforcement. Right now, each police department maintains their own record-keeping system, and there's some limitations with that, and there's some additional overhead with that we're trying to help eliminate. First being cost. That's very expensive, and ultimately it's the taxpayer that's paying for that. So if we can bring this up to the county level and leverage the economies of scale and make it less expensive for everybody, that's a great thing. The next is data sharing. Right now, there's really no way for police departments to easily share data, and I'm going to ask whoever's willing to help kind of explain the benefits to being able to log into a single system and have access to a plethora of data and get the analytics out of that, and everything from heat mapping to contacts with individuals. Something
Law enforcement's greatest tool is information, and we can share it pretty quickly these days with email and other things, but certain things don't come up via email. Obviously, if there's a major case in a certain jurisdiction, they'll relay that to the other jurisdictions via email or radio. But having the, Lebanon, if an officer in North Lebanon has access to Lebanon City's information, they can know when they're going to deal with a particular individual, or they're called to deal with a particular individual right away from looking at it in the database. And in that sharing of information, they could understand that he may have a mental health history and that maybe they need to start a crisis worker rolling on that call, or they could have a violent history and they need to get additional officers. So it's safer for the public and safer for the officers. In addition to that, like he was talking about heat maps and stuff like that, trends can be shared more quickly. Certain, car break-ins, it's a bad example, but that's what's coming off the top of my head. But, officers could look to see they're having break-ins in Lebanon City, and now they're going over to North Lebanon. Right, Lebanon City has a suspect, so the information sharing instantly is much better than, what we're working with currently.
I would just reiterate, it's the info sharing is the biggest. You have roughly 12 municipal departments. Our office would be 13 in the state police. The biggest thing is it would be timely info that would be shared more quickly. It would allow you to dedicate the resources that would be needed more quickly. So that's the big thing. Again, there's probably, it would be a more uniformed reporting system. So you probably have several different agencies that are using different reporting systems. It would also probably benefit the district attorney and her staff as well, because it's a more uniformed report that's coming in. It would be the same report. Some of the other things, again, like the crime mapping, that's huge. Crime has no boundaries. You can start to put, again, car break-ins are big. It just doesn't happen in Lebanon City. It branches out. It's everywhere. So those are the big benefits.
Right now, all that data is very compartmentalized, and there's no easy way for it to get between municipal boundaries, and this solves a lot of those problems. This type of software is really expensive to maintain, and it's expensive the capital cost is big as well. The grant we're asking permission to apply for is $250,000, and with that we would like to cover the capital costs of the software purchase as well as the first 2 years of maintenance on top of that. After that 2 years, we have several options on how that maintenance can be covered. Option one is the county decides it's beneficial to the entire county and absorbs it in county budget. Option two is we defer that cost to municipal police departments based on a user model or something like that.
So municipalities are helping to pay?
That'd be option two, but I'd rather that be option one, but go ahead.
In 2 years, we will have to make that decision how we want to.
The grant would cover everything 2 years going.
Yeah.
Jonathan, anything else? Sheriff,
No, sir.
you good?
I have a couple of questions. if I may.
Certainly.
This is all new to me, so bear with me, please, so I can understand completely. First of all, we normally get a completed application to peruse and approve, and I don't see that. Will we be getting that?
We haven't done an application yet. There's kind of a short timeline on this grant. It's
End of
due.
March?
Yeah, the middle of March, I believe, is when we have to have the application in. So right now, we're asking permission to apply, and then we will complete the application. We'll send a copy of it to you.
You will send a copy up. Okay, that helps. Will help answer a lot of questions, I'm sure. But I don't understand, because I thought all crimes got reported to a state database, and so we're going to do a county one. So what is the difference between the state and county database? I mean, I'm hearing you say some things, but don't they provide the same kind of
I
information?
think you're referencing the UCR reports that are
Okay.
reported to the FBI.
Is it-
This would be timely, so everybody would be able to share the information. Like I said, currently the chief and I coming from the city police, we had one system. South Lebanon, North Lebanon used the same system as the city.
North Lebanon's still using older.
However, we weren't able to share information timely.
But all that
It's
data
just-
doesn't go to the state where you can access it?
No, not until the end of no.
It's
No.
timely. he said.
This is like, again, the key word is timely.
Point out a difference here real quick. I think a fundamental difference, though, to your question is that crimes are reported to a database. This is activity.
Right.
This is
correct.
not just
This is the
crimes. This
current-
is, as
the
Chief
current
Hess described,
reporting.
you might have a,
Activity
real-time
versus
information.
crimes.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, you might have, somebody who in one jurisdiction maybe just, maybe there was a domestic and it was dealt with, no crime committed, everybody moved on, so to speak. And now, in another jurisdiction, something flared up an hour later, you'd have the ability to see that another jurisdiction just dealt with that. But otherwise, you might not, unless it was heard over the radio or something like that. Is that a fair?
Yeah, the workflow changes entirely. Instead of having to go back and look through state and federal systems for an individual to see if there was a contact, and then reaching out to that police department to find out what that contact was, now an officer from the car, the second they pull over a vehicle, put the license plate in, we'll know that they got pulled over a mile down the street. We'll know what happened in that, and all that information will be readily available.
Thank you for that clarification, Jamie. That simple definition certainly helped me to get my head around what you were asking for. So then the next question would be, how do we control access? I mean, will you have the same approval kind of thing that, in other words, when you go to a state database, you have to have certain level of approval or credentials?
Access, I mean, it's controlled by the police departments. I think
Okay.
would be the,
Is it in the cars or where is this thing housed?
it's housed on our, I mean, it's literally located on our servers.
In-
Just
for
like our
EMA?
CAD system, yeah.
Okay.
Just like our CAD system. Law enforcement has the equipment to access those servers.
Okay.
We already own a lot of that equipment already, just through the nature of what we do with mobile data terminals and interfacing technology with public safety, so.
It's not on public domain.
It's not something you can access from the internet.
All right.
Not from any computer.
So it's secured and nobody can hack into it, and you guys have just your officers going into it?
Yes.
There's not a public terminal anywhere?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Now, it doesn't mean a police department can't log in and provide a police report just like they do right now. It just changes what software they're using to do it.
But for instance, this would not be accessible to the media?
Correct.
Okay.
Comment, listening to what you're saying, to me, it seems like almost a no-brainer. It's a significant investment, but I look at, listening to you, the return is improving the safety of our responders and getting that immediate real-time information, improving the safety of any perpetrator and the community in general. I mean, it's a great concept.
Thank you. It also allows us to onboard some departments that don't currently use reporting system.
So not every police department has their own system. There are standalones, but not everybody has one?
Well, there are law enforcement bodies that don't have a great, the sheriff's office being, I believe, a good example, that
Okay.
doesn't have a great software solution for this, and they'll be able to jump on board and and improve their workflow as well.
All right,
Okay.
I think we,
One more.
yes, Jamie?
Do you have any sense of there's $7 million available, you're asking for 250.
Mhm.
Do you have a sense of the competitiveness of this? I mean, is this something, I know it's a burn, it's a JAG grant, they've been around for a long time.
This is, I mean, this grant it's going to provide benefit countywide. And I would
Yeah,
imagine.
and that's in
that
your
will-
favor.
I imagine that will get us higher up on the list,
Mhm.
but as far as,
And most of the grant experience that I've dealt with, you know, a regional solution kind of puts us to the front of the line, you know, as opposed to my department or the sheriff's department asking for a specific thing. I don't really have any grasp of how competitive it
Yeah,
is.
you don't know if historically there's, 3 times as many requests as there is money or anything like that, so, okay.
and if the grant comes back and we're awarded a different amount or awarded less than, we'll, before accepting, we'll have that discussion and decide how to move forward.
If you aren't already, you might get some letters of support, but that may be something, from the jurisdictions, but that would demonstrate the regional. Maybe you're already on that.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
So countywide, I get that, but if a neighboring county has similar systems or has this exact software, can they tap into it and get reports, especially in light of, as you said, actors don't know boundaries? If they're acting bad in, somewhere here in eastern Lebanon, that could spill into Berks, is there shareability with other counties?
The
neighboring
shareability
counties?
certainly exists, but that goes through the DA's office at the county level.
I know Berks and Lehigh counties are working on a similar type of reciprocity.
Okay. And then, if this is accepted by the commissioners to release the funding, when, if you said this, I apologize, when would it be up and running? Like, when would you like to have it?
The grant won't be awarded until September, I believe, which puts us into the 2023 timeframe for actual implementation.
Okay, somewhere in 2023.
And yeah, just for clarification, this is not, at this point, county money. This is
Not
grant
county
money that will be.
And then, if some of our smaller municipalities inside of Lebanon County, do they have to spend the money as well? Will they get this information automatically through existing, being tied into the county, or do they have to make a purchase as well to access this information?
So if you're talking specifically about the law enforcement entities
Yeah, like a
within those
smaller
municipalities,
municipality.
the intent with this is to offer that out to all of them.
Also, they would have access to the same.
Yes, this would replace their existing reporting system.
Yeah, okay. If you said that, I apologize.
That's right. Yeah, you're out maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
For instance, West Lebanon, though, if they don't have, they hire North Lebanon, West Lebanon wouldn't have access, it would be through North Lebanon, right?
The law enforcement entity with jurisdiction has access to.
Right.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's all right. Anything else before we ask for a motion? Let's move it.
I'll make a motion to approve the $250,000 grant application, subject to getting a copy when it's completed.
Understood.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I have one more grant. You guys are welcome to stay for that.
You're on your own.
Okay, Robert.
Second grant, asking the commissioners to execute the necessary documents to move forward with the every 5 years, hazard mitigation grant. Our plan expires at the end of 2023, and this is the grant that we get to fund the update of that plan. It's a $100,000 grant. Normally, the county is responsible for a 25% cost share. However, for this particular grant cycle, FEMA has indicated they're using ARPA money and CARES money to cover the county's portions. So this will be a 100% covered. There are 2 forms that I need to get into the federal system before I can even dump out an entire application. And those 2 forms are designation of an agent and then the commitment letter. The commitment letter is stating that we understand that we're responsible for that 25%. And that's because this is a federal grant, so FEMA will come back around on the other side and help us with that.
Any questions for Robert?
Just, could you just briefly describe what hazard mitigation is?
Yes.
What the plan accomplishes by having it?
Hazard
updated?
mitigation is a very big plan that identifies risks, hazards, vulnerabilities that countywide that could impact us, and then identifies potential mitigation measures and projects that could be funded to help reduce the impact of those. It's necessary for any type of federal hazard mitigation funding to do things like repair dams or install water retention. I think the Hazel Dike was a hazard mitigation project. So the plan is a required plan to allow us to have access to funding for those types of projects.
One big project that's not only here, but in other counties has been taken is relocation of frequently flooded structures. So, you know, there were properties along the Swati, or used to be properties along the Swati that would just flood even before flood stage, and some of those have been funded to be relocated. And that, therefore, you don't have the issue every single time there's a high water event. And all of that is then addressed and taken care of through federal funds, but without a plan,
Right.
you can't do it.
And it's required all the way down to municipal level. And what happens through the process is we meet with all the municipalities, we take their input, put it into the plan, and they adopt our plan as theirs when the time comes. I imagine pandemics are going to be higher up on the plan this year.
No?
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this application for the hazard mitigation plan. Any comments required? Nothing? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Right,
much.
Robert, keep up the good work. Thank you. No, go ahead.
All right, I've got 5 items here. The first one being a proclamation recognizing the passing of Richard A. Blystein. Mr. Blystein passed away recently and was born June 14th, 1933, graduated from Lebanon High, served 4 years in the Navy as a gunner's mate, was a lifelong member of many veterans organizations. The one thing that is just incredible to me is an astounding 12,000 military funeral honors that he participated in as part of the military force honor guard. I mean, if you do the math on that, that's an incredible,
Yeah.
incredible time commitment over many, many years. And